audiences proves that Guerrero was not an academic armchair playwright, but a playwright-director. A playwright who wrote plays that dramatized rather than talked about their conflicts, plays that were eminently stageable. For these achievements in playwriting and directing, Guerrero deserves to be called the greatest of the playwright-directors of UP in the decades after the war. For writing truthfully about Filipino experiences and values at a time when English language and sensibility had warped much of the Filipino's perception of his own realities, Guerrero deserves a niche in Philippine theater history.
Wilfredo Maria Guerrero's plays always stage better than they read, which is proof that they are authentic theater. His plays on a stage, even if acted by amateurs, holds one engrossed and amused, even helpless to laughter, if the play is by Guerrero. He gets down on our surface accurately, but some lack or maybe only excess of charity keeps him from thrusting through the surface. His theater is farce rather than comedy, but it's first-rate farce.
The extent of written work is quite large, and you will remain an outstanding figure in the literary world of Filipino writers, when all the other writers of your time have been forgotten. I am quite sure that you will continue to be read as long as there are Filipinos, and if any of them have the sense enough to get together to do a play, it'll be one of yours. The extent of your written work is quite large, and you will remain an outstanding figure in the literary world of Filipino writers, when all other writers of your time has been forgotten. I am quite sure that you will continue to be read as long as there are Filipinos, and if any of them has the sense to get enough together and do a play, it'll be one of yours.
Guerrero shows himself in his 13 plays for the dreamer and the idealist that he is. He feels sincerely, and one senses this in his works, that he can only be true to his creative art if he makes it speak for himself. Guerrero has always been a dramatist of protest. His 12 new plays are protests, an explanation, a reminder. The reader, the spectator, cannot but sit up and take notice.
Guerrero calls his moods on a national level. He writes his plays the way the local mass of readers can understand. His masterly portrayal of humor, pathos, sentiments which are true of Filipino mentality pricks the reader's sensitivity and heightens his interest in the play. Guerrero calls his moods on a national level. He writes his plays the ways the local mass of readers can understand. His masterly portrayal of humor, pathos, sentiments which are true of Filipino mentality pricks the reader's sensitivity and heightens his interest in the play. Guerrero calls his moods on a national level. He writes his plays the way the local mass of readers can understand. His masterly portrayal of humor and pathos, sentiments which are true of Filipino mentality, pricks the reader's sensitivity and heightens his interest in the play.
Wilfredo Maria Guerrero, the noted playwright, has just come out with his 6th book of plays called Four Latest Plays. I am amazed at the energy of that man. He keeps getting younger as his plays keep getting more tempered like the Mask of Steel. Most writers half his age have already given up the ghost of writing. Wilfredo Maria Guerrero, the noted playwright, has just come out with his 6th book of plays called Four Latest Plays. I am amazed at the energy of that man. He keeps getting younger as his plays keep getting more tempered like the Mask of Steel. Most writers half his age have already given up the ghost of writing. Wilfredo Maria Guerrero, the noted playwright, has just come out with his 6th book of plays called Four Latest Plays. I am amazed at the energy of that man. He keeps getting younger as his plays keep getting more tempered like the Mask of Steel. Most writers half his age have already given up the ghost of writing.
Wanted a chaperone. So my comment for this play is that it talks about reality because it talks about families and being included in a society wherein family is involved. I can say that all these events presented by Guerrero has a possibility to be in occurrence in a certain family at some point in time. Though I think that it portrays a very different parent compared to my family, because in the play, they're like somehow being very OA and stuff of how they can be so protective and caring about their child. But that's a little bit too much for me, I guess, because where's the free will there? But I can understand how they are like how they are and why they are like that. It's because how they value their childhoods, and their child, as I know, is one priceless gift from God.
My first impression after reading the play was I was really wondering why the author chose to write the play in English. I mean, we have a Filipino author, he's very decorated, and he definitely has skill and understanding of the language. But instead, he chose to choose the language of this play to be in English. I was really thinking about why he used this language, but when I thought about what context he was trying to aim at, or maybe the kinds of symbols he was trying to portray in the play, what I think is that he used the English language so that he'll be able to show that these issues, the ones that were presented in the play about parents that care too much about where their children go, are problems that are only usually present with the higher class people. And by higher class, I mean the ones who are able to afford better schools and maybe be able to achieve better jobs. English is not a language that is learned by every single Filipino, but these issues that were presented are also not problems that are present in normal Filipino families.
Go.
Okay, so the play Wanted a Chaperone, when I read it, the first thing that came to my mind was it was an easy thing to read. For a play that was made by a Filipino writer, I actually understood it and appreciated it a lot. Because usually when I have readings made by Filipino writers or watch plays by Filipino writers, I find it hard to comprehend what the message they're trying to relay or the content of the text itself. But this one, I think, it's more of easier to understand because people in our generation could relate to it in a way that there's a thing as going out at late night, and sometimes parents would prohibit us from doing so. The twist in here is he still puts in the traditional Filipino context of like how parents still want their children to be really home really early, which I guess is because he's trying to show that traditional parenting, and also how when parents want to discuss something with the other party's parents, they would go to each other's house and talk to them about it. Kind of like how in the olden times, like when someone has to court someone or someone has to visit someone, they go straight to their house, not through phone call or I don't know, sending someone else to relay the message. And then there's also that thing about the chaperone. I mean, not even rich families in the Philippines now, not much have chaperones. But I guess, I don't know, maybe it's an attempt of a mixture of Western.
So Wanted the Chaperone centers on a family of four. Family of four has Francisco as the patriarch of the family and has Petra as the mother of the family. The two parents have Roberting as their son and Nena as their daughter.
Yung Wanted a Chaperone ni Guerrero, nung nabasa ko siya sa Filipino, kinumpara ko siya sa original na English. Tapos I found na, although nandun naman makikita naman yung command sa language ng translator, parang I think hindi niya masyadong na-capture yung original comedy ni Guerrero, yung Filipino nagtunog na parang nabawasan ng complexity yung characters. In terms of complexity naman, bilang isang comedy of manners, which I think Wanted a Chaperone is, hindi naman masyadong hinahanap yun, parang Shakespearean representation ng character. Mas mahalaga naman doon kung mapalitaw yung critique niya in terms of social norms, to be specific Filipino family values, tungkol sa kababaihan na dapat siyang pinoprotektahan. Feeling ko mas dapat naging goal ng translator na mapanatili yung medyo maliliit na complexities na nalagay ni Guerrero sa characters. Like, very interesting yung character ng father na although protective siya sa anak niya, meron siyang paghamak sa pagka-Pilipino. Meron siyang yung usual elitistang paniniwala in terms of kung paano magpatakbo ng isang pamilya, tungkol sa edukasyon. Yung mga bagay na yun, hindi ko alam kung merong mga in-edit out yung translator, hindi masyadong napalitaw. Or siguro dun sa translation, naging tunog dated yung Panimilipino, kahit na even Guerrero himself employed bilingual dialogue kahit papaano. Ayun, tingin ko rin na it's a play that's better seen than watched. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but especially to our modern contemporary sensibilities, in my humble opinion, and I'm sure I can still afford to be educated in terms of Guerrero's canon, pero parang in my humble opinion, the play is not able to stand the test of time, especially in the Filipino version, because siguro yun nga, dahil sa pag-employ ng techniques ng comedy of manners, hindi masyadong napasakan ng complexity yung characters. On page, they just seem like characters entering and exiting the stage with little interior parang interior qualities. It's feeling ko kahit sa comedy, parang maybe this is a very modern judgment, but feeling ko kahit sa comedy, I think playwrights still are still bound to the task of challenging our beliefs, our norms, of surprising and even, I dare say, shocking our sensibilities na nagagawa naman ng mga classical comedy playwrights like Oscar Wilde, or even locally sa mga comedies ni Balmaceda, tsaka ni Rene Villanueva. Pero feeling ko there's something very traditional and simplistic about Guerrero's Wanted a Chaperone. And yet I'm sure that sa performance, it will elicit laughter. Because I think the script is the script allows actors for improvisation, lalo na yung mistaken identity regarding yung tukayo, yung dalawang Francisco. It's been so long, I feel out of my body.
I feel alone, feel at